Well, g'day, Max here again. Welcome back to the shop. So this video is purely about reactivating our Misal Herron K24 lathe. Now we're just going to do a bit of a superficial going over and clean over the well, enough to do this one little job that we plan to do in this machine. So it's a bit of a clean up on the bed, bit of an inspection inside the headstock. We've got some change gears at the back that need adjusting up, and we'll get the electrician to run a temporary power feed to the machine. So I'm just starting down on one end of the bed at the moment so I can move the carriage down and get to the other end. So the cleanup as far as the slideways go on this machine, the condition of these ways are absolutely knackered. So I'm not being too fussy. I'm going down with a bit of 320 emery paper backed up by a large lump of tool steel, rubbing it down, and going over with a bit of Scotch-Brite, clean it down, and then lastly running the flat stone over them. So that's all that with the attention the ways are going to get. My plan is to regrind this entire bed. Well, let me rephrase that. My plan is to attempt to regrind this bed, and I brought this lathe as a project because of the capabilities of it, and it was getting thrown in the bin. So I got it for scrap value. So the thing has only really got to do a couple of jobs and it's paid for itself. So, but anyway, let's I'm at the stage now where I can wind the carriage down and then clean up the front half. So it is a 24-inch swing lathe by 10 feet between centres. And I know the carriage does get tight as it comes down, and there's a possibility it's the keepers underneath, because there's a lot of wear. This front section of the bed's absolutely knackered, and so where the keepers run, the bed will slowly get thicker and thicker, so I might have to slacken off these keepers. Wish it had rapids on it, it'd be great. Some pretty severe staining. It's that worn that the flat on top of the bed, the carriage is running on top of the V. And it is an asymmetrical wave lathe. Let's bring you in a close-up and I'll explain what that is. It's one configuration. I'll never ever buy another one, I think, with an asymmetrical way bed. There's a bit of an Achilles heel to them. I'll show you what it is. Yeah, so she's in a pretty sad state of affairs. Even the flat on the top is wearing. Now, whether that's due to build up of crap getting stuck underneath here as the way wiper is broken, all the things that worn that the carriage is actually sitting down on here now, I don't know. The tailstock ways, shocking. Other side's the same. So asymmetrical way bed, instead of your standard V configuration like here, you have this shallow side of a V, and then you have the long side which is at a much shallower angle. What tends to happen is this side here seems to cop a real hammering. So with your cutting forces are actually coming down and bearing on this, so theoretically it should. This takes all of the load, but you've still got your carriage. This supports your carriage from coming out this way, and you've really got to look after your way wipers with this lathe. I mean, there's a minor issue even with our JFMT lathe on this area here, whereas all of the rest of the ways on the machine are pristine. So anyway, I'll get this area here cleaned up, and then we'll have a quick look at the carriage. Well, cross slide, we'll check the oil in the carriage, make sure everything's free and moves, then we'll wander up to the headstock. Yeah, so the old 320, all right, it's a pretty aggressive method. I mean, this would be the first time in my life that I can recall using emery paper on a machine slideway. In this case, this is a different animal. It's not really taken off any material. It's that would alter anything in any way. It's just knocking the tops off the scores and the grooves that are already in there. And being backed up by a piece of tool steel gives it a good flat area as well. So it's just a light rub. Actually coming up a lot better than what I thought they would. You never know, we might get a big surprise, and a bit like two wrongs make a right. All the wear might even counteract each other. Yeah, that'll be a bit too hopeful, I think, but you know, we don't know after we've done this little thread that we've got to cut. We'll stick a long piece in, and well, of course, once we've got to have the machine properly leveled on its feet before we can do a test like that. And we'll just see what's actually going on, you know. Yeah, we might get a shock. That would be a pleasant surprise. Okay, that's all that we need to do with the 320. Wipe it down. Lube her up with a bit of degreaser. And our Scotch-Brite, which is here. Now this is an old bit of Scotch-Brite. I mean, I use it till it wears holes and it just keeps going. Incidentally, the spindle taper on this machine is an L2 taper. So hopefully that's all in good order. And I don't actually have a spanner to take it off. Might have to give it a... Yeah, we'll have to make a proper C-spanner for it, but I might pop it, I don't know, I might see how I go. I might pop it off for a look. Depends if I do the job with this chuck or the 4-jaw. I prefer to use the 4-jaw, so okay. Of course, the flat stones will take off any little dents where the material's been pushed up. Yeah, I can feel the wear on the flat side here. It's got to be 10th hour wear on that. Still, it is what it is. Okay. Right, let's move on to the next part. And of course, don't forget the feed shafts. And their keyway. These keyways can trap a lot of gunge. Clutch shaft. It is a clutch lathe too as well, this one, so that's my preferred option over just the direct electric drive. Now the lead screw, because we will be screw cutting in this area here, when the machine's up and running, we'll give the threads of the lead screw a really good clean. So the year of the lathe is approximately 1965, and it's an Italian machine. Yeah, she frees up quite good down here. So we will be working just in this short area here. Right, I'll just re-wipe the rear down. A bit of gun she's left behind. Yeah, so yeah, 1965, made by Misal in Italy. The model is a Herron K24. So we've given the crossfeed dial a bit of a clean up, so at least we can see the graduations now. It is an imperial graduated hand wheel, and we found the missing handle too. So we managed to, I had to pull this apart because this nut was a bit stuck onto the other part of the dial there. But no, that's all sorted out now, it's good enough. Cleaned up the threading dial, so at least we can read that now. and then slipped out the cross slide gib strip. So I was quite surprised with this. It's not worn. And an interesting thing to note, there's two positions for the gib screw adjuster. So yeah, that was quite good to see that. So I think I'm going to go a bit further than what I originally intended. So I'm going to slip the cross slide off. Just make sure there's no grime and crap trapped in the slideways and areas that I can't clean out. And we'll make sure check out the lubrication system. So what I'll have to do for that, oh, excuse me, drop the oil out of the apron. That's if there's any oil in there. And then see if we can get this plunger pump activated. So I'll pop the compound off first, just to reduce a lot of weight. And get a ratchet a bit quicker. Right, I'll go and find somewhere to put this because it's a bit of weight in it, I think. It's alright, we've put a board down on the DSG behind us, so we'll just use that as a temporary workbench. For some reason it doesn't want to lift straight up. Oh, she's dry in there too. What I think it is, it's got some dodgy washers and I think they're grabbing the threads of the bolts. Let me clean that out and bring it back. Okay, mystery solved. So some Bright Spark has used ordinary soft mild steel washers, which are fine providing the size is correct. So these washers fit down into a slight recess. So the washer had taken on a bell formation and grabbed the threads, and that's why we couldn't lift it up. So we've got these all, managed to pry them all out. So we can have lift off now, hopefully. And what a workbench it is. Beautiful bit of British engineering. Dean Smith and Grace workbench. I suppose there'd be a few that'd be up in arms if I bolted a vise down to it. We better not, eh? Seeing it is a future restoration. Quite good in here too, not your normal cesspit. Even the bolts are good. Better than the ones that were in the JFMT. Well, that's all looking good there. So let's figure out what's going on here with this cross slide nut. So I think we're going to have to undo these screws. And, well, who knows. So we're going in here completely blind, as we got no idea what we're going to come across. We pulled one of these. There's two little blanking screws in here. They don't appear, I don't know what they do. One's longer than the other, who knows. And they just appear to blank off a hole. Oh. Okay, we've got a cap screw here. Hopefully that retains the nut, which it does. Alright, there's another thing here. I call it a thing because I don't know what it is. It looks like it's just a hole. It looks like a rounded off cap screw, but it seems to be just a hole. It's possible it's a dowel, I don't know. Let me get my torch and I'll have a look and see what I can see from the underside. Okay, I think if I wind this to the very extremity of its travel, we can get enough separation between the two gib strip out to clear the little stub on the crossfeed nut. We can actually wind this back further. We've got a micrometer stop here for the carriage travel. Let me just slacken that off and move that out of the way. Yeah, a little micrometer stop here to limit the, well, for your carriage travel, in case you're doing a bit of repetition. Probably seized. Let me hop around the back. Just a bit of gunk holding it. Yeah, just an adjustable micrometer type stop. Good feature. Okay, I'll continue winding towards me. We should be able to get some separation. We'll pull all these off before we lose them. Boom, there goes our nut. Okay. Well, that's an interesting way to make a backlash eliminating nut. We'll get a close up on this in a bit. Well, that had the potential to be a darn sight worse than what it was under here. I mean, yeah, there's a bit of scoring and lines, but underneath feels, yeah, it's to be expected when you look at the rest of the machine. So that's pretty well fair wear and tear here, like as compared to the excessive wear on the bed there. One interesting point, have a look at the lead screw. This is bent. So we'll straighten that. What I think we'll straighten that in situ, possibly. I don't know, I might pull it out. If I pull it out, I don't know what the arrangement is for the gear that's up for the apron drive. I don't know if that's going to fall off or not, so I might just give that a bit of a tweak in situ and see how it goes. So let's look at the other side. Yeah, so the underside of the cross slide, it's about the same. It's not actually that bad. I thought it would have been worse. So that's a good thing. It feels all right, so I'll get all these cleaned up. And this can go back on. So while we are this far, we will, it's looking very dry in here, so we will separate the compound as well. Interesting thing to note, when we mentioned the oil plunger before, you can see the oil lines coming up, feeding up to either side of the dovetail ways here, and there's a line that goes through, feeds the carriage on that side, and yeah, assumably there'd be one feeding this side. So let me get these parts cleaned up and then we'll come back. Well, okay, I think we'll wind this one up here. I think we've got enough done for one session. So off camera, I'll do all the cleaning and I'll strip the compound, get everything cleaned up, bring you back for the reassembly. Now, I did not have any intentions of going this far into it, but I thought, well, bugger it, I might as well, because if everything else turns out semi-reasonable, it means I can use this lathe for a fair bit until we get the other ones up and running, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, and we'll just give it our best shot with what we've got to work with at the moment. I mean, it is a temporary fix, if you call it that, what we're doing at the moment, just to get it back up and operational, and we can then give the machine a good shakedown then once it's up and running and see what we're really dealing with here. So anyway, cheers, thanks for watching, and might see you in the next video. Well, you'll see me, I won't see you. You get the drift. Cheers.